So we have a subtle energy body, and we know nothing about it. Ancient medicine describes all this. Every decade, the number of psychologists, psychiatrists, and mental health hospitals increases. What does this all mean? A lack of energy. Sun, air, and water are the most beneficial for us all, always helping against all diseases. You can't go out in the sun, you can't get fresh air, meaning they're suggesting a person might as well just die. There are asceticism practices that people have been performing since ancient times, only now they don't know what they're meant for. It turns out that to be able to believe, to achieve a goal, one must just engage in prolonged continuous movement. Prana energy enhances willpower, determination, the ability to win, the ability to overcome difficulties, despair, fear, and disappointment. In 22 minutes, one energy layer is cleansed. That means you need to run for 1 hour and 50 minutes. I started running at 50 years old and everything hurt in my body. When the sun is rising until 12 p.m., the recovery process occurs in the body. The system is engaged in the recovery process. Everything in our body is being restored. Without movement, where can we get strength? When people do exercises, they spring to life. During this time, prana is absorbed. Today I ran like a horse. I live a good quality life. It's very wonderful to live.
Hello everyone, this is the Asceticism Practice Project. And today we're going to talk about how such very simple activities as running and walking can affect our mental, our subtle energy health. And we'll discuss this with an esteemed specialist in the field of medicine, both on the physical and on the subtle energy levels, with a person whose name speaks for itself, Dr. Oleg Torsunov. Hello.
Hello, Alexander.
Dr. Torsunov, I've really wanted to talk about this topic for a long time, and I'm very glad that I have the opportunity to discuss it, specifically with you. The thing is, I've been involved in sports for quite some time, including running, and I must say, like many other young people, I did it rather for physical development, in order to be more resilient, to be slimmer, and so on. But over the years, I noticed a certain effect. I saw that during the periods when I run, when I'm actively involved in sports, my feelings are somewhat different. However odd this may sound, I feel a bit happier. And when there's no running activity in my life, happiness also seems to fade away. I saw this connection. I started looking for an answer on the physiological level. I think it's probably due to endorphins, maybe some dopamine, all that stuff. And it seems to be true. Indeed, something is produced during running, but it seems the question is not fully answered. Then I heard in your lectures that indeed the work occurs not only on the physical level, but also on the subtle energy level. I would really like to talk to you about what happens on the subtle energy level. What allows us through running, through continuous walking and other dynamic exercises to feel happier. How does it work?
The feeling of happiness itself is a subtle sensation. It's not about dopamine being produced causing a person to feel happy. Happiness is energy. We have a subtle energy body. There's the physical body, there's the subtle energy body, there's the spiritual body. Ancient medicine views a person in this way. The spiritual body means the soul. The soul has consciousness. We see in each other this sparkle, this energy. A person may be pleasant or unpleasant. This is the energy of the soul's consciousness. The consciousness of the soul has three energies. The energy of happiness. Everyone wants happiness. Nobody can live without it. The energy of eternity. Everyone wants to live forever. The energy of knowledge. Everyone wants to know how to be happy and live forever. Therefore, three energies act in the spiritual body. The subtle energy body is built in the image and resemblance of the spiritual body. It also has these three energies. But in the spiritual body, they come from divine power, nourishing us with divine strength, while the subtle energy body is nourished by the energies of nature. The energy of eternity means fresh air, the feeling of fresh air. For example, there is little or no energy of eternity in enclosed spaces. For this, open space is required. That's why everyone wants to be in the fresh air, even though there may be enough oxygen here in the room. But it still won't feel the same because prana and oxygen are different things. The energy of happiness comes from the sun. A person feels happier being in the sun. Even in the ancient Russian language, the word joy means sun, to give sun, to rejoice, to be happy. And the energy of knowledge is enhanced under the influence of the energy of water. That's why there's a song. Against all diseases, the sun, air, and water are most beneficial to us, that always helping us. These three elements activate energies in the body while a person is moving. To activate them more, they need to be absorbed into the body. And to help this absorption, there are asceticism practices that people have practiced since ancient times. Only now, they don't know why they do it. They used to know, now they don't. The first asceticism practice is keeping a stationary position of the body and staying in water. A person stands in water, absorbing the energy, not the water itself. They're not absorbing water through their cells. They're absorbing the energy of the water. Water's energy calms a person, leading to the understanding of the truth, as well as the stationary position of the body. Yogis sit in meditation, motionless. The stationary position of the body absorbs the energy of water, calms a person, and leads to the understanding of knowledge. The energy of knowledge is enhanced. The energy of the sun is absorbed when a person is in the open sun and when a person is fasting. A person doesn't eat, only drinks water. Solar nourishment is activated. The energy of the sun is absorbed, and the energy of happiness in the body increases. When a person engages in prolonged, continuous movement, this answers your question. They pump prana energy into themselves. And speaking of mental functions, for people to understand, prana energy enhances willpower, determination, the ability to win and overcome difficulties. Moreover, our subtle energy body is connected by threads to surrounding objects. Let's say a person wants to get into a university. They're already connected to this object on a subtle energy level. And let's say they lack the good fortune to get in. They know everything, they have studied, but there isn't enough luck. They come and still they don't get good grades. If they engage in prolonged continuous movement, they cleanse this connection on their willpower level. And they can get into university after practicing long runs for some time. It's very important to also know the distance, because a person has 5 energy layers. Today I was running at a pace of 6 minutes 30 seconds per kilometer on average. At this pace, in 22 minutes, 1 energy layer is cleansed. This means one needs to run for 1 hour and 50 minutes to cleanse all 5 layers of the human energy field, which is approximately 17 kilometers. You can't run every day. I have a schedule. I run once every 6 days. That's how I run, cleansing all 5 energy layers. And the most cherished dreams and desires are located in the deepest energy layers, deep within a person's psyche. So, even if people run, they still don't achieve their goal because they don't know that it's not about running often at a short distance, but rarely and for a long duration. This gives them the opportunity to engage and activate their willpower.
What about doing exercises every day and running 5 kilometers as part of the routine? It doesn't work.
It works. Suppose 22 minutes of running, it's about 3 kilometers at a pace like mine. 6 minutes 30 seconds per kilometer. It cleanses 1 energy layer. The first energy layer is responsible for a person's activity, their ability to work, to interact with nature. For example, they might have climatic adjustment disorders. That's also on the first energy layer. Or the inability to communicate with people, being isolated, introverted. All this is cleansed by doing exercises. A person does exercises and they spring to life. But if they want to cleanse their thoughts, mood, or deep desires, all that is located deeper. Schizophrenia, mental illnesses are also located on the deeper energy layers. Deep within the energy layers, there are energetic blockages. What are these blockages? The subtle energy circulates in the body normally, but there are certain disruptions in the thinking process. Thoughts are on the 3rd energy layer, mood is on the 4th, and deep desires, goals are on the 5th energy layer. Our dreams are also on the 5th layer. When a person becomes disillusioned with life, they fall into depression. This means a lack of solar energy. It accumulates as an energetic blockage. A blockage means a long-term lack of some energy. This blockage means that solar energy does not reach the 5th energy layer and a person's life falls apart. If there's a lack of willpower energy on the 5th energy layer, it also creates a negative energetic blockage, which disrupts the movement of prana. And if prana doesn't move there, a person loses their willpower. They don't believe that they can achieve their goal. It turns out that to start believing in achieving a goal, one needs to engage in prolonged continuous movement. Nobody knows about it. When the movement of the energy of knowledge in the fifth subtle energy layer is disrupted, a person becomes very irritable and sensitive. They fall into despair. There are three states that deeply impact a person's life: despair, fear, and disappointment. Despair is a lack of the energy of knowledge. Fear is a lack of the energy of life force, also called prana energy. And disappointment is a lack of the energy of happiness. So, we all have a subtle energy body and know nothing about it. Ancient medicine describes all of this. Our medicine says it's dopamine, and everything is reduced to chemical elements. Everyone knows that when the body dies, the person does not die with it. Vladimir Vysotsky sings, "The Hindus invented a fine religion, that when we die, we don't die definitively. If your soul longed for the heights, you'll be reborn with dreams. But if you lived like a swine you will remain, it seems." There is a subtle energy body. There's this doctor of science, Raymond Moody. He worked in intensive care and collected testimonies from patients. He used various sensors, devices, and when a person had no pulse at all, the encephalogram would show a flat line. People would often describe the view from above of what was happening on the surgical table. He specialized in heart pathology. There were cases of clinical deaths, and he managed to save some people. Afterwards, he examined the saved patients. Out of all of the saved patients, 100 people described a view from above and what they saw happening. This was confirmed by the recordings that were made. So, the person saw themselves from above even though all the devices were flatlining. That means that a person also has a subtle energy body. It detaches and lives its own life. This is all real.
You've mentioned so many problems that can be dealt with by running.
Not just by running, also by stationary positions of the body, fasting, being in the water and in the sun. Moreover, a person can also use running to achieve marriage, university admission, or a job offer. Because there are willpower blockages that prevent them from achieving these life goals.
For me, this is the discovery of the decade, without exaggeration. Because it would seem that all these problems could be tackled at a personal, professional, or spiritual level, but not on the physical level, just by running. It seems to me like a huge opportunity to achieve one's goals. On the other hand, what scares me is seeing how our modern sedentary lifestyle dooms us to be unhappy from the very beginning. And we lack both the mental ability and energy to achieve our goals in various life spheres, simply because we never move.
Yes, you see, nowadays with each decade, the number of psychologists, psychiatrists, and mental hospitals increases. What does this all mean? A lack of energy. In ancient scriptures, it was predicted that in this age and time, the main problem for people would be Shakti Hrasa, that's in Sanskrit. Shakti means energy, Rasa means deficiency. So the main problem in life is that people don't connect with nature. They've lost contact with it, and some are completely maladapted. For instance, there are people who are afraid of water. They enter the water and feel terrible, they shiver. So they need to interact with water, they lack the energy of water. If a person goes into the sun and immediately feels unwell, they need to spend more time in the sun. But you have to do it right. You have to gradually learn to increase the exposure. If a person immediately catches a cold in the fresh air, it means they lack the prana energy in the body. And what does maladaptation mean? When the prana energy enters the body, it starts to heal it. And such intense processes occur that it overwhelms the person. As a result, people are told, you can't be in the sun. You can't go get some fresh air. You can't be in the water. And what is allowed? You can lie down, just like this. Put your hands together, place a candle there, and prepare to die. So they're basically suggesting a person might as well just die. Because the sun, air, and water are the three forces that need to be consumed. We have two types of nourishment. One type is the nourishment of the physical body, the food we eat. And the other type of nourishment is for the subtle energy body, which also needs to be fed. Otherwise, you'll be living like a couch potato.
Actually, I did not get into running right away. I hated running for many years, and only now I am beginning to understand why. because I was often forced to run around in circles in gym class as a child. Like donkeys, in a closed space with low ceilings, and you just run around aimlessly, or in a beautiful gym with glass walls, where you run on a treadmill in such a metallic and glass paradise. You are running, but you are not in touch with nature. And only when I started running in the forest or just outside, somewhere near the trees, I began to feel this uplift. But until that moment, I disliked running. And it turns out, all I needed was contact with the forces of nature to begin to love this activity and feel nourished from it.
A Russian singer had this song when I was young. Hypodynamia, what is it? I won't sugarcoat it. The absence of movement crushes all hope. It shortens our lives. Fate is giving you one last chance. Hurry forward and advance through rain, heat, and fog. Long live walking and daily jogs. Such was the song. It was about the need to run in nature, not in a gym. Yes, but even if a person runs in a gym, suppose in Siberia it's -40 Celsius right now, or -22 in Astana, and if a person runs outside, they will definitely be overloaded with cold. Therefore, even if a person ran in a gym, they have the opportunity to absorb this prana energy like a sponge. So after a run, they walk outside for just 15 minutes, and they replenish their life force like that. When a person walks in the forest after running, they feel good. It's exactly during this time that prana is absorbed. The person feels good. The energy is absorbed by their body, and they become happy and joyful.
Dr. Torsunov, I often hear about cases when people start to run, either after a very long break or for the first time in their lives. And the same stories emerge. Knees ache, joints ache, something else aches. What should a person do in such a situation? They are always at the crossroads. They either have to stop training because it hurts, and they are now their own enemy, or they need to push through. Which option is the right one?
It's not that simple, because there are 3 types of tension that a person can accumulate. When there's a lack of water energy, I call this static tension, because it is removed with the help of the stationary position of the body. When there's a lack of prana energy or air energy, I call this dynamic tension. It must be removed through movement. When there's a lack of sun energy, I call this a negative tone, and it's removed by positivity, sun, and fasting. It's very important to know that irritability or a lack of water energy accumulates the fastest in any person's life. And it leads to a very high degree of heat in the body and inflammatory processes. A person becomes irritable, sensitive, angry, and physically their body overheats. And against this background of overheating, if a person starts running, inflammatory processes are immediately intensified. Therefore, I recommend people first learn to properly be in the water. It's a whole system. You need to do static exercises and only then start prolonged movement. There will still be certain aching sensations in the body. But these aching sensations don't mean something bad, because there are 2 types of sensations. There's acute pain and there's aching pain. This aching pain means healing. It means that the organs are starting to demand energy for healing. When a person is running, nothing is aching. The aching starts afterwards, because the body says, I want more energy. I need to heal. I feel neglected. Your joints are already incapable of such a load. Give me energy. I will start rebuilding everything. We're starting major renovations in this place. And for a renovation, building materials are needed. Nature's energy is needed. And you're sitting at home during this time. And the body aches, it doesn't like it. If a person goes outside during this time, takes a little walk, then everything calms down, because there's enough energy. So this is healing. For instance, I started running at the age of 50. Now I'm 58. The first time I ran 500 meters and was immediately out of breath. The next time, a little more. And in 2.5 years, I could run enough to cleanse all 5 subtle energy layers, that is 17 kilometers. And now I run on schedule once every 6 days, no exceptions.
And did anything ache at all during this period?
Everything ached. First, my right knee ached for half a year. My friends told me, stop running, your kneecap is wearing out. And I thought to myself that my knees are not braking pads. I am a living person. Everything should be able to regenerate. I didn't believe in that. Then suddenly the right knee stopped aching. The right knee stopped aching and the right hip joint started aching instead. I never even felt it in my life before. It was like I was walking on stilts. My right knee ached for 4 months, then the left one, and with each new joint, the pain decreased. I realized later that the body first heals what needs healing the most. Every part of my body ached. I fly a lot because I give lectures all over the world, so I fly 50,000 miles per year. I circle the earth twice in 1 year. All this vibration from flying in an airplane goes into my lower back. So my lower back ached for 3 years. It was being treated by running. Today I ran like a horse and nothing is aching. I'm 58 years old and probably every part of me has already worn off. Because according to the theory that everything wears off with age, everything has worn off in me and nothing hurts anymore.
You are a very brave person, because an ordinary person would get scared of all this aching.
But who scares them? They go to see a doctor and this doctor takes a look and says, that's it.
That's it, yes.
There is this joke. An old lady comes to the doctor and says, I can't pee. And the doctor goes, and how old are you? She says, 80. Well, that's it. You ran out of urine. That's what they say. They are just scaring people. And they don't know how the system works. The system is programmed for restoration. Everything in our body can be restored. I know a man, his kidneys started to fail. The doctor told him, well, that's it. Get ready for an artificial kidney dialysis. He told me, can I do it your way? I say, you can, but do it with caution. You are already seriously sick. Everything needs to be done slowly. And we started slowly with him. After 1.5 years, his kidneys started working twice as well. The doctors are already saying, wow, you are an exception. This is not an exception. The kidneys can also be restored. You just need to know how to do it right. It's a whole science too. When a person is more or less healthy, they can start running and they will be fine. But still, I know this one athlete who once told me, listen, I had such great results in sports, and now I'm starting to have some problems. And he described all the problems of static tension. I asked him, how often do you run? He said, I train every day for a marathon. I said, wow. So I gave him static exercises to do every day. That is the stationary position of the body, so that the static and the dynamic energy are not out of balance. That is, he has a lot of prana energy pumping in his body, but water and solar energy do not enter. I gave him balance, told him how to get both. As a result, 2 months passed and he said, that's it, the problems are over. Therefore, it is important to keep everything in balance and harmony. We have 3 kinds of energy, not only the energy of air. There is also water and sun. We also need to learn to absorb them.
So if I understood correctly, first of all, we need to get into running gradually. If aching pains arise, we live with them and continue on. But at the same time, we must also do static exercises.
And stay in the water. You need to go to the pool. You see, good athletes, they know that after a run, one must sit in the pool. They feel that one needs to be in contact with water to have balance.
And does a sauna count?
Yes, but this is how it should go. First, you need to sit in the water, then in the sauna, then again in the water. People come and go straight into the sauna, overheat, then into the water, and get hypothermia. So first in the water, then in the sauna, then in the water again. I was recently in Irkutsk, and there were about 60 of us. And children, elderly women, even sick people, everyone got into the river Yenisei and stood there at 7 degrees Celsius, enough time to cleanse all 5 layers. We stood there in this icy water for about 15 minutes. Then we all went to the sauna. There were several saunas in that complex. We all lay down there for a certain time and then finished off with water again. We stood a little in the water at the end, and no one got sick, not a single person. If you do everything right, even sick people feel very good.
And what other type of static exercises can you recommend if there are no water sources nearby?
The best thing is to stand near a wall. You go to the wall, lean against it and stand. 13 minutes cleanse 1 subtle energy layer. 65 minutes cleanse all 5 layers. You can pray during that time or listen to a lecture, some positive activity. It's like meditation. You stand there without moving.
And what about yoga asanas?
Well, you see, asanas don't last that long. For example, you need to sit in the diamond pose for 65 minutes to cleanse all the 5 layers. And who sits in one single pose for 65 minutes? They sit for 3 minutes in one pose, then the next. Yoga is more like a warm-up and not a cleansing of the subtle energy body.
And does Shavasana count as a static exercise?
People also ask me that. They say, Dr. Torsunov, what about sleeping? You don't move when you sleep either. I say, you need to do asceticism practice. If it's easy for you to do, then nothing is being cleansed. No cleansing is happening. So you can't get off the hook that easily.
Got it. In terms of frequency, did I hear you right that you run once every 6 days?
Something like that. If you want to cleanse all 5 layers, it's 17 kilometers. Then the body recovers in 6 days. How did I determine this? If I run once every 5 days, my pulse rises a little. And if you run once every 7 days, it also rises a little. When I run once every 5 days, I feel a little tired, as if I haven't had any rest at all after the previous run. And when I run once every 7 days, stiffness appears. Because if a person does not cleanse their subtle energy body regularly, it accumulates tension. What does this dynamic tension look like? It looks like stiffness in the body. That is pain, all kinds of pain, migraines, constipation, veins sticking out, hypertension, this stiffness in the body. All of this is dynamic tension or lack of prana energy. And when a person runs, they are relaxed, they feel great, the psyche works well. Nothing can scare them, the willpower processes are turned on. Life goes very well, it's wonderful to live like this.
So, you must go for a long run once every 6 days. And the other 6 days, I'm even trying it myself.
Exercise.
And what if I, for example, run up to 3 miles on all the remaining days, and once a week 10 miles? Would that be okay?
Yes, it's fine. Excellent. No one is denying the fact that it is also necessary to strengthen the muscular system. With age, all kinds of hernias come out. Therefore, in addition to running, it is also good to do different exercises, for example, bends, squats, push-ups, in the gym with a little weight. That's also normal.
And what do you think about yoga?
I've been doing it all my life.
Do you do hatha yoga or another kind?
I have my own, only 4 or 5 exercises, but for a very long time. I lean forward while stretching my legs out. I sit like this for a long time. Then I pull my knees back, then a headstand, then a neck stand. They are simple exercises. I don't have a big list. These are the ones I do. I do it for a long time. 2 hours. Cleansing of the body also occurs through such exercises. I mostly exercise every day. First, I turn my head for a long time, like this, to the right, to the left, for about 8 minutes.
Wow.
Then up and down like this for about 8 minutes, and then I also do this plank on my arms for a long time.
You do this every day?
I try to do it 4 times a week. Then a reverse plank. I also do it for a long time. Then 60 push-ups, 100 squats, 216 bends and arm swings. First here, then there, like this. This is the kind of exercise complex for all the muscles as a warm-up. Why turn the head for a long time? Because I work with my head. I have a lot of stiffness there. I have to warm up my neck, my head, because all the negative energy accumulates here. If a person does mental work, they need to learn to rotate their head for a long time like this to unload.
This is something new, but I will definitely try it. Now that we are talking about exercise, can it be assumed that this exercise is done in the morning? So, in general, should we run, do short and long runs and other dynamic and static exercises more often in the morning, or does it not matter at all?
It matters. While the sun is rising until 12 p.m., the treatment in our bodies takes place. The sun is rising and healing us. The energy of the sun is rising, giving cleansing to the body, it's healing. Therefore, from 6 to 12 is a good time for any treatment. But this does not mean that if you run from 12 to 6, nothing good will happen. That's also normal. But at this time, other processes are going on. So if you run in the evening, it's more for relaxation. If in the morning, it's more for cleansing the body. And if you run during the day, it is perceived as work by the body. It tones up more. It is also important to know that for the cleansing of the blockages in the subtle energy layers, you need a long, calm, cheerful, soft run. It must be a calm run or a calm walk in a calm state of mind. You must not accelerate. This is not a forced run, let's say uphill. This is a very calm, soft, long run. This is what cleansing is. There is also the toning of the body. Toning the body is done by standing under the shower. Cleansing is done by being in still water. Toning is done by standing under the shower, standing on nails, or when you make a sharp acceleration, running uphill. This all is for toning the body. This increases the body's resources and endurance. But if we talk about life expectancy, cleansing the energetic blockages, then it should be done in a calm state for a long time. It is very important to distinguish these types of workouts, because when a person has strong energetic blockages at an older age and begins intense running, then they will have a heart attack. So you first need to cleanse the body, then train it.
By the way, about the heart attack, I'm familiar with this topic. I have one acquaintance, he is already over 55, 60 years old. He used to run, quite actively. Then there was a big break. After that he wanted to restart, but his wife did not allow him. She said, "What on earth are you doing? You are no longer young. God forbid something happens to you, to your heart, something else." And she forbade him. He stopped running.
That's right. You need to look for a small plot of land near Almaty. A small one. What type of wood and stone you like. What running are you talking about?
How long can you live, right?
But seriously, she was right to forbid it. But not running itself. One should start training gradually. The older you are, the slower you get used to training. It means you have to do it gradually. Start walking, then slowly start running. Static exercises are also needed at the same time. Water, fresh air, sun, all this is also necessary, and then there will be a good result. If you rush like a horse at 50 years old, and before that there was a break for 8 years, let's say, then anything can happen, you can suffer.
We have just established with you. It's better to run in the morning before 12, from 6 to 12. The time falls on the time after sleep. When we have just woken up, it's breakfast time. I always used to think that one shouldn't eat before running. You need to do it on an empty stomach so that nothing bothers you. Then I came across such a point of view that we definitely need glucose, because otherwise the adrenal glands are stressed, and thus more harm is done. I started eating a banana before my run. Is this right?
Don't listen to them. The body produces everything itself. Are we like beggars or something? We have glucose in our body. We have reserves in our body. If the body needs it, it takes it from the liver. There are reserves of sugars in the liver. So if the body needs it, it will use it. It has enough resources.
So it's better to run on an empty stomach?
It's better on an empty stomach because there is less strain on the body. When you have an empty stomach, your whole body breathes prana. It means there are two types of nutrition. They should not be combined. When you feed the physical body, then you shouldn't move at this time. And if you feed the subtle energy body, you shouldn't eat. Because if you combine two types of nutrition, then chaos begins in the body.
I often have such a feeling when I go for a run in the morning. For example, I run 10 kilometers, and my stomach starts to feel hungry.
This is not hunger. This is a lack of water. This is a sign that you need to stay in the water more. If you stay in the water for a long period of time, you remove the static tension. When a person has static tension, then during running, their pulse rises significantly, they feel hot, they feel hungry. This is a sign that there is a lack of static exercises and not enough of being in the water. If you do this correctly, then there's no hunger, there is no heat, and the pulse does not rise. Everything is normal.
Very interesting. Everything you just said, it just astonishes me. Running is pleasant, I like it, but standing still, all static exercises, no.
Because you have a strong static tension in your body, you have energetic blockage on the third energy layer. It causes a disorder of the vessels. Hence, there can be low blood pressure, dizziness, despite the fact that you run. That's different. This is static tension. The next stage of your life, since there is already an imbalance of the water element. When a person is afraid of water, it means there is already strong static tension. It's already dangerous. When I realized this, I tried to be in contact with water. But static tension can be of different depths. The colder the water, the more it cleanses your static tension. For example, I used to get into water below 11 degrees and I would get cramps in the water. I needed 5 attempts in order to get into the icy water. When I realized this, I began to stand in moderate water for quite a long time to clear 5 energetic layers. There is a graph. For example, if the water is 28 degrees, then you need to stay there for 70 minutes. If 22 degrees, it requires 40 minutes. If the water is 3 degrees, then only 4.5 minutes. If you don't like cold water, then you can stay for 4 minutes. I started first with 22 degrees standing for 40 minutes and did it for a long time, a whole month, because energetic blockages are slowly cleansed. We've been accumulating them for a long time after all. Then I went into 11-degree water. I had no cramps. It means the general static tension has disappeared. And after that, I remember I was in Minsk. There was a spa and there was a pool with 0.2-degree water. Even the walls were covered with frost. It was like a refrigerator. The cooling effect was very strong. I went in there. Well, it constricted the body, but I didn't have cramps or unpleasant sensations. I stood there for 4.5 minutes cleansing all 5 energy layers and then went to the sauna.
Just standing, feet shoulder width apart, arms lowered?
No, the arms are not lowered. In this icy water, it is better to raise your arms, even in an ice hole, because your fingers get very cold. Nothing happens to the feet. Everything is fine. You need to stand somewhere up to your chest, hands up. You can wear mittens, even a hat on your head, because only the head and hands freeze, nothing else freezes.
And you don't move?
You can move, but it's hard to be there if you move in an ice hole. If you don't move, it's easier. If you move, it's not very easy.
By the way, it's not for nothing that all sorts of cold barrels have now become very popular. I mean, after playing sports, after training, people sit in there and endure it. Does it also refer to static tension? Well, there is ice in there.
Yes.
Great, I should try.
But you can't do it right away. You have strong static tension. You need to start by staying in 22-degree water. Even in 22-degree water, you will shake, because shaking is the cleansing from static tension. When a person shakes, it means the healing process is going on.
My mind first says, you'll catch a cold, be careful.
Catch a cold, you know. You have an energetic blockage on the 3rd energy layer. If you get into 22-degree water, in 7.5 minutes, the 1st energy layer is cleansed. Then in 7.5 minutes, the 2nd layer. After 15 minutes, you'll reach your blockage. And how do people usually react? I went to the Black Sea. I was standing in water, cleansing myself, looking at people. I see these energetic blockages. I feel the subtle energy body. I look, a man goes into water. And I have a watch. I know the water temperature. The man goes in and he has a blockage on the 2nd energy layer. I think he will swim for 10 minutes and come out. Then a woman goes in. I timed everyone. I look, they all come out when they reach their blockages. And this means that they are ruining their lives. Because you reach the energetic blockage, you have energy accumulated there, like a capacitor, and then you come out. And this is what catching a cold is. When you start to shake, you need to wait until the body relaxes and then get out of the water. As soon as people start shaking, they come out when they reach the blockages, and this is not good. Therefore, everyone gets sick because of this, catching colds. They come to the sea. Then they start to have colds because they overexcite the body. They have energy accumulated up to the energetic blockage, and their body goes crazy.
Interesting. Dr. Torsunov, you said that you started running at the age of 50. I used to think that if a person doesn't run until the age of 50, even until 40, then they will never run. You started after 50 years old. How did you come to this decision? Why? What for? I've been listening to your lectures for the last 12 years, and 5 to 6 years ago, I began to notice constant, frequent mentions that dynamic exercises are needed, and you inspire by your own example. How did it happen? What inspired you?
I immediately remembered a joke. Doctor, will I live? Well, I wouldn't advise you to at your age. I used to run in my youth. Then some wrong conceptual ideas appeared. I heard in one lecture that if you run, you breathe more often, and frequent breathing leads to a reduction in life expectancy. This knowledge is erroneous, wrong. And I decided, well, I don't need to run. I stopped running. And this was a serious mistake, because before that I had excellent health, somewhere up to 30 years old. Then for 20 years I didn't run. I practiced yoga and sat in the water, but then I started having huge problems with my body. One time at the airport, I arrived at the wrong place. I had to run between terminals with suitcases for 500 meters, and I suffocated. I thought something was wrong with me. I was about 50 years old. I decided to start running. And then I began to understand that it is the cleansing of the body, not just a workout. And I started to get into running slowly. If you do everything in balance, then you can start at 60 and 70. And everything should be done gradually. The older you are, the slower you need to start. And that's it. The body knows how to recover at any age. The older a person is, the more difficult it is for the energy of prana, water and sun to be absorbed into the body. It is absorbed with difficulty. And in order to absorb it, you need asceticism practices. I have analyzed all the long livers, and they all did one asceticism practice out of these three. Either prolonged continuous movement or fasting or staying in the sun for a long time, thus being treated by the sun. Or practicing a stationary position of the body, like yogis. At least one thing is needed. And if a person does all this together correctly, as a complex, then you can live for a long time, because the body is always ready to recover. It needs energy for this. No energy, no recovery. What are chronic diseases? It is an energetic blockage in the subtle energy body. Energy does not flow from the subtle energy body to the physical body. The body first gets weaker. Then a violation of diet and stress occur, and an inflammatory process begins, because you overstress the body.
Dr. Torsunov, everything you talk about is very interesting, and most importantly, it resonates very strongly with me, especially the fact that there is such an empirical base that confirms much of what you say. I've always had a question throughout the entire time that I've been listening to your lectures. What is the source of this knowledge? It is clearly not modern medicine, but it also doesn't seem to be Ayurveda. What is it? Where did you get this knowledge?
Ayurveda too, but there are also ancient sacred scriptures that describe the subtle energy body of a human. I was very interested in this. Even Ayurvedic doctors do not really understand it. They do not understand it. They still treat people at the level of the physical body. They only use these terms as an application to the physical body. And even Ayurveda explains this not as the movement of energy in the body, but as the movement of mucus or some other movement. They still apply the subtle energy body to the physical body. They say that there is tightness in the body. This is dosha vata. There is an accumulation of heat. This is dosha pitta. And there is an accumulation of mucus. This is dosha kapha. Of course, it is all there. No one denies it. These are the same disruptions, only at the level of the physical body. Energetic disruptions. And there are also energetic disruptions at the level of the subtle energy body. And these disruptions are all connected with a lack of energy of the sun, water, and air. We are children of nature. We are not children of a computer room or the 25th floor. Because on the 25th floor, there is no contact with the earth. In order for the cleansing of the body to activate, a person must take into account two factors. The first factor is that they must be in an open space. And the second factor is that they must be on the ground or close to the ground. If one runs in a gym on the 20th floor, then it will be a completely different thing. The cleansing will not be very effective. So it will be much more difficult because the ground does not allow a person to overstrain. This is like a buffer, such a buffer system that does not allow any overstrain in the body. An open space launches energies into the body. If there is no open space, they don't penetrate in there. A person very clearly understands the difference between standing on a balcony or standing with an open door near a balcony. These are completely different things. Just try standing near the balcony. It's the same air, the same oxygen. You stand at home, near the balcony. If you go out onto the balcony, suddenly you get this feeling as if you are standing outside. These are completely different sensations. Therefore, nothing will replace nature. We must protect this world. We must protect forests, fields, mountains. We must protect everything.
And what is this field of knowledge? How can it be called? Is this Oriental medicine or integrative medicine?
This knowledge comes from ancient Vedic sources, from the scriptures.
And are there any specific works that are most used by you?
There is a little bit everywhere, and in the Srimad Bhagavatam there is a mention of the subtle energy body. It is said there that there are three aspects of the subtle energy body: mind, intelligence, and ego. This is a different topic. All the energy layers that I talked about are the energy of a person's mind. There is also intelligence. There is also a sense of self-esteem. This is a topic for another conversation. There are special works, for example, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. There are tantric scriptures that describe that there are nadis, the subtle energy channels of a person. There are shrotas. Nadis are subtle energy channels into which the energy of the sun, water, and air enters. A person has three main subtle energy channels, three main nadis. The first nadi starts from the top of the head and goes to the coccyx along the spine. It means the spine is nourished by this nadi, which is called sushumna. Prana, or the life force of a person, moves there. When a person wants to live, the energy of prana enters their body. The second nadi goes along the paraspinal ganglia on the right. It is called the pingala nadi. The energy of the sun moves through it. And the third nadi is on the left side, along the spine. It also flows along the spinal ganglia on the subtle energy level. This is Ida Nadi. The energy of water moves there. These three nadis first introduce energy into the body, these three types of energy, and then it is distributed into the energy layers and so on. There are also shrotas. These are subtle energy channels that deliver energy to the internal organs. Nadis are subtle energy channels in which the mental life of a person takes place. We even have connections like threads with other people. These are nadis, subtle energy channels that give life to the subtle energy body. And in order to give life to the physical body, these nadis distribute energy through the shrotas. These are such subtle energy channels that envelop each organ and all structures in the body, so to say, in bags, and supply energy to the liver, kidneys, and so on. And energy in the body flows precisely in accordance with the arrangement of organs. For example, the organs on the right side, the liver, gallbladder, right lung, they take energy from the pingala nadi. It means they need solar energy. In the center, it is the spinal column, stomach, intestines, blood vessels, lungs. They need prana energy. And on the left side, the heart, pancreas, left kidney, they need the energy of water. But it's not only like that. There can also be mixing, but the energy of water is associated with a feeling of love, close relationship, and personal life. And its lack leads to diseases. When a person suffers in their personal life, their heart hurts. When the volitional functions suffer, the liver aches. This is the energy of the sun, or the pingala nadi is functioning. A person gets angry, let's say they've overworked, and they suddenly have liver disease. And if a person works incorrectly, their prana moves incorrectly. Let's say they don't like to work, then the stomach, intestines may get diseased, resulting in stomach ulcers. All this knowledge is very deep, and it is impossible to explain it all in one conversation.
As I understand, in your practice, you rely more on the system of Vedic knowledge?
Yes. In general, I defended my PhD thesis. I actually graduated from a medical institute.
It's very interesting how you switched from modern medicine to Ayurveda.
I defended my PhD thesis based on my lectures. I received a specialization in the field of medicine, which is called public health. It studies how various processes affect the quality of life. I proved in lectures that those people who follow my recommendations, their quality of life improves very much. Their families are preserved. They become successful at work, they improve their health. It's a whole dissertation on this topic. I presented it in Moscow. I even dedicated my dissertation to these topics. I didn't mention about the subtle energy body there, of course. I talk more about this at public lectures, but with the help of statistical studies, I proved to modern medicine that these methods work.
By the way, going back to running, I also wanted to clarify such a point. Now it's cold season. The period when people catch colds. Everyone's immunity has sagged. And when a person starts to get sick, what is their first reaction? Well, you need to lie under a blanket, relax, and most importantly, not move. Drink tea, eat soup, and that's it. I've also heard that one should actually go outside and walk, as it stimulates the immune system.
The truth is always in the middle. What is immunity? It's when there's movement in the body aimed at destroying a virus. It's movement, activity. If there is no movement, then where do you get the strength from? To heal, you need strength, you need prana energy. But on the other hand, the body gets very tired from fighting, so it needs rest. So my advice is this: if you can't sleep, then walk. If you're not walking, then sleep. If you're sick, if you're tired, lie down and rest. Once you regain some strength, dress warmly so you don't catch a cold and engage in prolonged movement in the fresh air.
And this will stimulate the immune system?
Of course, both rest and prolonged movement.
If a person, for example, has a temperature of 37.5, should they still go?
Yes.
And for how long, approximately?
As much as you can.
So like 30, 60 minutes is okay?
Yes, it's okay.
The main thing is that it's uninterrupted, right?
The main thing is you're walking, breathing the air. Once you get tired, go to sleep. That's how a person can heal.
Sounds reasonable. Since childhood, we've been taught that if you're sick, you must lie down for as many days as you're sick.
Yes, and also make sure to cross your arms like this and stick a candle here. And if you have a little difficulty breathing, go straight to the intensive care, then on artificial ventilation, and next thing you know, you're in the morgue under a white sheet.
I really like your approach. You're emphasizing the tendency in our culture to immediately write off people of any age, under any circumstances.
I know my body, and when I start getting sick, just a little bit sick, then I don't walk. I run, and I do it in the fresh air. Then I take a dip in icy water, then I go to the sauna, and the virus just burns away. But if I miss the moment and get really sick, then I walk like this and lie down. But if I manage to feel the cold coming on before it gets to me, I go for a long run, then stay in the sun. The immune system explodes and just burns the disease away. It tears it apart. But not everyone can do this, only those who are trained. In general, everyone needs to be careful.
Very interesting. My dad always adheres to this logic as well. If he gets a bit sick, he says, "I need to sweat it out, I need to run." To which my mom would say, "You're sick. On the contrary, you need to lie down." All my childhood I observed this dichotomy, the conflict of these two opinions.
The truth lies in the middle. Only experienced people should do this. The ones that know their body well. Because if an inexperienced person does this, they'll get pneumonia right away and end up in intensive care.
So you can actually make it worse, overdo it.
Definitely. Because you don't know the stage of the illness. You don't have the training in your body. I've tried running in strong wind, in rain or snow, in a blizzard, and it's all fine. The body is even happier. It feels even better. When you're already trained, icy water is great, strong sun is great, strong wind is excellent. All that only pleases the body when you're trained. But when not, then all this leads to undesirable consequences.
And over these 8 years, has your immune system changed? That is, do you get sick less often or just the same?
I don't get sick at all.
Not sick at all. So you never got sick before either?
Before, just a little bit sometimes. But nowadays I also use my own remedies for colds. I just do prevention. If you spray certain types of oils in the nose, in the mouth, and go be among people. If you are prone to catching viruses, the virus lands on the mucous membrane. But there's this oil that stays on the mucous membranes for 8 hours. The virus weakens, and then, if it enters the body, a weak virus is quickly dealt with by the immune system. And if it dies, even better. Such a broad spectrum of action is possessed by camelina oil, for example. This is the oil made of camelina sativa, not of mushrooms. Turmeric oil, black cumin oil, but it cannot be applied to the mucous membrane because it's too hot. It can burn the mucous membranes. Clove oil as well, specifically natural oils, not essential oils. And you just spray it in your nose and mouth, all set. This provides protection, prevention from viral infections as well.
Great. Thank you for the recommendation. Really, thank you so much for all these recommendations. I probably, like everyone else who is listening to this conversation, just got a second wind to both run and do static exercises. And this is especially inspiring because it's not just any who has this knowledge that is telling you this, but someone who applies it to themselves, and let's just say, at a respectable age.
If a person says they're a doctor and just gives advice without following it themselves, they're simply lying.
There are many like that now.
So if you want to be a doctor, first test it on yourself.
Nowadays, when you approach a hospital, you see people in white coats standing and smoking there together. Not all of them, but many.
But they do it together. When COVID was raging, they got into attentive care together as well, and together with their patients. We know these stories well. You need to live correctly. It's all written in my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page.
Well then, dear friends, let's consider our conversation. I encourage you to apply all the recommendations you've heard here. Embrace an active lifestyle. Live long and prosper. All the best. Goodbye.